Thanks for staying with us. I'm Bill O'Reilly in the Factor Follow-Up segment tonight. As we said in the Talking Points memo, it was only minutes before the far left in America began turning the Virginia Tech murders into an anti-gun story. In his new book called Crazies to the Left of Me, Wimps to the Right, Bernie Goldberg chronicles how ideologues on both sides are hurting this country. And one of Bernie's targets is Rosie O'Donnell, who said this about Virginia Tech today.
You're never going to change the gun laws in America. It's one of the most powerful lobbies.
It's a constitutional right, you know.
Yes, but we've amended the Constitution before when the rights of humans have been violated. Every other civilized country in the world has sensible gun legislation. No one's trying to take away the right of hunters to hunt. We're trying to take away illegal handguns.
Okay, now with us now, Bernie Goldberg, the author of the book. Now, I know you don't care about Rosie O'Donnell, and I don't care about her either, but it's becoming increasingly clear that whenever the far left wants to get a message out, Ms. O'Donnell is one of the conduits.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, there is a tie to her, the New York Times, other people. And I don't think most people understand that.
No, she's very important in that respect.
You bet.
So let me make a point about the guns. Liberals, the over-under on when liberals were going to start the gun debate, I figured it was 3 seconds after the last shot was fired.
Right.
And it was,
right.
And the under won on that one. Liberals don't own this issue. I used to be on the left. Now I'm on the right because liberals have gotten crazy. Do you think conservatives want lunatics to have guns? They don't want lunatics to have guns. And you know what? Conservatives don't want criminals to have guns either. And if Rosie has her way, speaking for lots and lots of liberals, and they take everybody's, gun away, except for hunters, only lunatics and criminals are going to have guns. And let me tell you something. I don't think liberals are going to feel too safe in that circumstance
either. Well, Rosie
either.
O'Donnell hires people, as she admitted to me in my interview with her a few years ago. She's got guys packing heat that follow her around.
Well, you see, this is interesting to me because this is a liberal thing. Rosie O'Donnell doesn't want anybody else to have a gun, but her guys can pack heat. And the Hollywood crowd doesn't want anybody driving an SUV, but they could fly around in Gulfstream 5s. It's always, the elites always have this thing. I don't want regular folks doing certain things, like driving big cars or having guns or a million other things. But I can, because I'm more responsible, don't you know? And really what they're saying is I'm better.
Well, you have a history of writing your books, and they've all been bestsellers, and this one will be too, on criticizing the left. But here you criticize the right. You call them wimps.
Yeah, I want to make something clear. I'm not criticizing conservatives. I like conservatives. I mean, liberals forced me into that camp, and I really like it. I find the people smart and interesting, and they're full of ideas. I've had it with Republicans who don't have the guts to stand up for their liberal principles. I mean, one easy example. Republicans talk about how they're the party of small government and the fiscally responsible people, the grown-ups. They spent more money when they were in power than Imelda Marcos in a shoe store. How's that responsible?
Well, it's a war on terror situation if you're referring to Bush, and also the compassionate conservatism. But you basically say that in this world, and it's hand-to-hand combat today, and that's why your book is interesting, because the idea, I wrote about culture war, and the culture war is like this. You basically are more specific that say the left has gone so far out there they're hurting the country, but there's no countermeasure on the right. Outside of talk radio and a few people, Ann Coulter attacks, but she does it in a way that almost hurts her cause.
Not almost. I think it does. And I write about her. Listen, Ann Coulter often makes me laugh, and I agree with a lot of what she says. But when she talks about the Jersey girls, being happy with enjoying it, or when she did this most recent thing where she referred to as a joke John Edwards as being gay, and she didn't call him gay, that just gives liberals a club to hit conservatives over the head with.
But how can conservative or traditionalist people stand up to this when the media is 80% left? You see how vicious Frank Rich is at the New York Times. You see how the Boston Globe, the Atlanta Constitution, the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, the Denver Post, on and on and on. If you stake out territory, calling out the far left, they're going to come after you.
Oh, absolutely. Listen, let me give you a very specific example. There's a chapter in the book called Fox Derangement Syndrome. They go after Fox simply because they put conservatives and liberals on to discuss issues. Every time I turn Fox on, I see a liberal discussing an issue along with a conservative. This drives liberals nuts. They foam at the mouth. And as a matter of fact, there's one thing that bothers them even more than Fox News. You know who it is? You, the Antichrist.
I mean, the Antichrist.
You say Bill O'Reilly to otherwise normal, regular liberals, regular folks. They have kids, they have jobs. You say Bill O'Reilly or Fox News or George Bush, by the way, and I'm not saying, these are three names that take otherwise normal people, and the foam starts. Tourette's. It's like they have Tourette's. It's like with Bush. It's liar, moron, fascist, Nazi.
Compared to Rush Limbaugh, I'm Walter Mondale. You know what I mean? I'm not an ideologue in the traditional.
Oh, they hate. No, you're not. You're not. And I make the point in the book, by the way. I say Bill O'Reilly's one of the very few people I've ever heard on cable television ever say to somebody he disagrees with for most of the discussion, that's a good point. I've heard you say that. That's a good point. Most people don't do that, They give you no credit for that.
So why do they hate me so much if I'm not pushing a far-right or very conservative agenda?
I'm not saying this to flatter you, because you're successful. And that's why they hate Rush, because he's successful.
Because we reach a lot of people, and people listen to us and evaluate what we say rather than just missing us. The left feels that I'm a big threat.
They felt a lot more comfortable when they had a monopoly on the media. Here comes Fox, here comes Rush, here comes Bill O'Reilly. You got to feel sorry for these people, Bill. You got to show a little. You have to show a little compassion. They're totally out of whack. They're totally out of whack.
But